Welcome back, everybody. Another great episode of Tall and Taller here on this wonderful Sunday morning. Um, Another great show this week. Talk a little bit about the Lions trying to getting everyone suspended and turning into the same old Lions again. Talk about the all Michigan team for the basketball tournament. Coming up, the alumni team. Then we'll list our top this week. So we'll do a top 5 tight ends underneath the Harbaugh era. And then we'll do something a little different this week. Kind of we're going to start looking into the Michigan State rivalry. Um, just to kind of think it'd be a fun, interesting thing to do. We're going to start with game one today, back in 1898. That'll be our last topic. But moving on, we'll go right into it. I think you've read more on it than I have because, again, I don't really care about the Lions that much. Uh, 4 players, 2 pretty much kicked out of the league, and
Yeah, they're
then
not getting another job. They're not
two
not that
two
good and don't
people.
have that much potential,
Oh
right?
yeah, and then
That's just a black eye.
Jameis Williamson or whatever his name is suspended 6 games.
So
And it wasn't. I mean, obviously, it wasn't gambling on football. That's the part about this conversation that I want to get into is that part. But you know more
right.
about actually what
So
happened.
the 2 that were dismissed from the team, I believe, did gamble on football.
Okay.
And what was the guy? Well, I think it was from the Bengals, right?
Falcons, I thought.
But maybe, yeah. Whatever. I don't care about either one of those teams. But so first and foremost, I can't believe that these guys haven't been told a million times that these are the rules, because the NFL is very good about that. They bring it for, especially with gambling and the domestic stuff and assault, because you get these young guys and give them a bunch of power, a bunch of money, stupid stuff happens, right? But and so I just want to qualify with that before I kind of go off a little bit. Is that it sounds like this was really a technicality type of deal, like they were on a team bus, is what it sounds like when he made the bets. And it does say team facilities, but there's some, and nobody from the Lions organization has officially commented, at least to my knowledge yet. But credible people with good sources, and it sounds like the sources are coming from inside the organization, is that's where the problem laid, is there was no clear definition of team facilities, right? And now it comes out it's the team playing, just about anything that the team's associated with it. And in my mind, without being privy to what they say to everybody, team facilities means to me, okay, the stadium and the practice facility, right? Is what I would assume, and maybe it was covered, and if it was covered, then shame on them. But there was also like 6 or 7 Lion staffers, low level people, right? And they were all immediately dismissed too. So there goes
that's where I come. I didn't read about the staffers, but like the staffers, how are they going to throw football games?
Right.
I
get if it
I
was
get
upper
football
level,
players,
like an
but
equipment guy or something, right? Maybe he can modify a ball to give you a competitive advantage. But I don't know what the position of these guys were. But the bottom line is for me 2 things: is Jameson Williams is he's on a short leash now, right? He did something, draft night. He kind of rolled his eyes and did the slow walk up to the stage, like, "Oh no, not the Lions." Which, okay, I get it, right? We don't have a good reputation really at all, but especially in his lifetime.
the dude has barely seen the field this either since he's been with the Lions because he came back from the ACL injury.
Right. And Brad Holmes did talk a little bit without talking about specifically about the gambling incident, and saying, "Hey, listen, we drafted him expecting to see results from him this coming season, We didn't expect anything last season, and anything that happened really was a bonus. And he mostly did the good things that he did on special teams last year. A couple cool plays, right? But
So he only played, I think, 4 or 5 games last year by the
yeah,
time he
well, it
came back.
wasn't much, and it wasn't. He didn't play a lot of snaps in any of the games he played. They were really keeping a close eye on him, which is smart. But short leash on him, right? Because young kid had some, if I remember correctly, had some character issues out of high school, and there's been questions about his maturity through here, even though, at least that I'm aware of, he hasn't done a whole lot. But number two is that he didn't bet on NFL games. He was betting online, and again, rules are rules, right? But if you're going to have a $3 billion sponsorship from a casino and push the apps and give them credit to bet on your games and do all this, NFL sanctioned, right? 6 games seems excessive to me for betting on a non-football thing. For betting for
Well, I
betting on
mean,
team on a team bus, what is what it's rumored to be. I don't know for sure that is. So six games seems excessive, and I'm sure that it'll get peeled
I
and knocked down to 3. But even 3 to me seems excessive. But
but
it
you
is
got to
what
look
it is.
at. I mean, you look at the kid. Who's Calvin Ridley from the Falcons? 2 seasons ago got busted for doing the same thing,
Got
but
a
he was
year
betting on. Yeah, but he was betting on his games.
right,
I'm pretty
and
sure he was betting on his games. I do remember correctly now that I think about it. It's not
he
through
did.
looking
And
it up.
I wouldn't. I would. To me, that's a gots to go situation, right? Because
But I mean,
why are you
seven.
betting on your own games? That
Yeah, but he was betting on him to win, so it really wasn't like
and still,
he was throwing games. I mean,
there's
I get
so
it,
many.
but
There, I've lost the terminology for what the side bets are. Um,
parlays.
well, no, like an in-game action where who's going to
Oh,
get
you're
the
talking.
first.
Yeah, you're talking live action betting,
Yeah, it's
live game betting.
so I understand that aspect, right? But it also it, another thing is I got a couple things here. Is I can't believe that no other team in the league has one player that's not done it. And sure, we're talking about the kid from Atlanta or whatever, but you're telling me that the Lions had 4 players and only one other team had one? Bullshit. Bullshit.
Same old Lions.
So
When I say, hang on. When I say that, I mean the luck of the Lions. How, like
and that
whether
that's
you
fair,
whether you
right?
go from whether you go from this or you go from having easily the top 2 best players to ever play the game of football. Like arguably, you could argue that Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders 100%.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't see why you can't argue Calvin just because he broke Rice's records.
Yeah, but I
But
still put Jerry Rice above him. A lot of that's because of the longevity, but you could certainly make an argument.
but Calvin was done. You know that.
Yeah.
Calvin was stuck with the Lions. He wasn't going anywhere. He couldn't go anywhere. The Lions weren't doing shit because it's the same old Lions. I'm telling you, I've made you that bet, and the Lions are not making the fucking Super Bowl in the next fucking 3 years, 5 years,
So
or whatever it was.
they will. So part of me says, hey, just hang on. Part of me
Mm-hmm.
says that, I mean, it all certainly points to here goes the Lions shooting his fucking self in the foot again, right? Because not necessarily the players, but coaches too, or staff members. Um, but it almost feels like they were targeted as well, because again, I just can't believe there's 100 guys on counting practice squad in every NFL team, right? So 30 a little over 3,000 guys, right? And you're telling me there's 5 of them. I just don't buy that, because all those I shouldn't say all, but the majority of those guys are gamblers, right?
Yeah.
And, especially, I know my age demographic, and then you go down to yours, it's just like marijuana. It's even higher percentage um, that use it, and it's legal, right? It's legal, and the NFL is pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't think that the punishment fits the crime. But again, if like at the rookie rookie camps, when the NFL brings all those guys together and they come into the stadiums and they said, listen, not even on the team bus. Well, then I guess he deserves what he got. But um, to me, it just seems a little bit excessive. But you know, if he's out 6 games, he didn't help the Lions win anything last year, but it does a couple things. It really puts a strain on them for the season, and the biggest thing is it changes their whole way they have to look at the draft, right? Um, at number 6, I think they were just going to
I
take the
think the
best player.
Lions are. I think the Lions would be stupid to change the way that they were going to draft this year. I just say you eat those first 6 games. I mean, you
Yeah,
draft
but
how you want. You eat those first 6 games, and
maybe you can't count on this kid now, and I'm talking primarily about James, right? But I don't know. There's a lot of levels to it. It's about a lot more complicated than it looks on the surface, on the surface. But it does bring the same old Lions thoughts to your head for sure. But and I don't believe that these are the same old Lions. I think Dan Campbell's the real deal. I think Brad Holmes is the real deal. I think Sheila Hampton Ford is much different than either one of her parents. Much more involved, much more. I think she has a much deeper understanding of how it works, but it's not a good look. Is the bottom line at all.
I mean, well, if this is the actual schedule, then no, it's not. Never mind. It can't be. Maybe it is. There's no way they're playing 4 division games back to back to back to back to start the game. Start the
They
year.
actually are, I think.
At the Bears back to back to start again. Home. Jesus Christ. It's all right. Aaron Rodgers is about to be in Green Bay still, so he's just a prima donna little baby.
Yeah, he is not going anywhere. They'll not trade him just to piss him off.
Um, going off that hand, I got one question. So it was found. They got caught because of their location, correct?
Correct.
Is that what you said when we were texting or whatever earlier this week?
Yeah.
And like you said, I'll give my little tidbit bullshit on it. With the way that today is and today's game is, as long as they aren't betting on football games, like games, even any, you can say, all right, y'all aren't betting on any NFL games.
Correct.
Don't bet on any NFL games.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. Y'all can bet on whatever. It's just the day and age we live in. It's just so easy to get to. I mean, like you made the comparison to like pot, especially in Michigan,
Right.
is very easy to get. It's so open, and
Yeah.
probably another 5-6 years, it's going to be like that everywhere.
Correct. I think for sure within 10. When I was a teenager, right, and it was the Reagans had declared the war on drugs, and we're going to get it. And as eighth and ninth grader, I needed about 10 minutes to find some pot. If my first 3 choices were out or weren't around or couldn't get a hold of them, pre cell phone, pre all that, pot has never been hard to find other than my favorite thing about maybe about the dispensaries is there's old saying growing up is always dry around the 4th of July from like the first or second week of June until the middle of August. It was always really hard, especially to find any good pot, but really to find any. Um, and the dispensaries have taken care of that. But that's neither here nor there. It's just, um,
It's where I was
yeah,
going with that was
it's not a big
in
deal.
today's day and age. It's just the way we live.
Right. And, I would almost rather say, listen, if you're this big a deal, and they can't do this, right, because they would be even bigger hypocrites than they are. But I almost think it would be better to be like, if you're in the NFL, you can't gamble, and I'm sure the players union would fight it. Is like, listen, you're blasting this stuff all over stadiums. It's on your commercials. You got these
Oh
partnerships.
yeah,
But the other
partnerships
thing
with
that I got, and I'm not a
DraftKings.
tech guy, right, and I know this would work in at the practice facility and um, at the stadium, but why couldn't they put like some type of firewall in where you can't access it from those locations? Or why can't the dummies just turn their location off?
Well, you can't turn your location off because then the apps can't prove that you're where you're at, what state you're in. That's why they can't turn their location off because I've tried over here to like change my location to like Louisiana using like a
Right?
hotspot. It doesn't work because
No.
Louisiana you can gamble on your phone. So anytime I go over there, I used to throw a bet in.
I bet you if you had a VPN, you could do it.
I tried.
No.
At least not any of the ones that I use because they're all cheap. I'm not paying just to gamble. But
So
I
I've
can.
played around very little with those, right? But what I remember, and it's been a while, is they say like even the Michigan lottery, it'll say you must be located in Michigan to buy a lottery purchase. Are you? Yes or no? And you just hit yes.
I
Um,
say it. I know at least with betting down here because like I've tried to get on FanDuel and all that stuff and use
yeah.
their stuff down here just to see if maybe if I was close enough to Louisiana, it would pick it up. It doesn't. Um, like if my location. Nah, if my location's off, it's like oh, you have to turn your location on to be able to so we can verify where you're at.
And I mean, fair enough, right? But I gotta believe that I know if they had a firewall, right, you could probably get around it by just jumping to your data. But then again, there's no mistake. You consciously made a decision to jump off the Wi-Fi and use your mobile data because the Wi-Fi prohibited you from jumping on the site. The same thing with the location, if that's even feasible, is that hey, you turned your location off. You knew what you were doing, right? I just think they're making a lot bigger deal than they said of the guys that weren't betting on NFL games. The guys that bet on NFL games, and if that's coaches included, all bets are off. But it is what it is. But again, it does give off some uneasy feelings about here the Lions took 2 steps forward. Now they're going to take 5 back. And none of the other 3
Same
players, the
old
second guy that was suspended
Lions.
suspended with Williams is a special teams guy, right? Not a major contributor, but
I couldn't tell you anybody else other than him that got suspended. And like I said, I don't
yeah.
follow the NFL like I follow college football, college basketball, baseball. I
And me
watch
neither.
I watch the NFL. I like watching because it's football. Same way I watch the USFL, the XFL. It's football. Football's a great sport to watch no matter what. Um, but that's why I was like, I don't know any of these players. And there's other people that will
Yeah.
know them, but a lot of people, like a lot of my friends, will be like, "Oh yeah, I know him," blah, blah, and I'll be like, just how I do with a Michigan player, any really college sports player, college football player, I'll say. Um, but we'll see what happens with that one. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he does appeal it, if he'll one get the appeal chance, or and then if he'll win it. I mean, because you got to appeal it. What the worst thing he can tell you is, hey, Here's another 6 game, or stick with your 6 games. All right. Move on to some Michigan.
So one last thing before we
Yeah.
close up is okay, the two guys that were cut did bet on NFL games, but not on the Lions. And the NFL says this: there's no evidence indicating any inside information was used or that any game was compromised in any way. So that right there, you know, I feel like these guys are being sentenced for murder when it was 35 and a 25 type of deal. But it is what it is. Time to move on.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree with that. That's a very good way to put it. Kind of go on to something cool here that I thought was when I did read about it and seen it on Twitter. So I don't remember when they started, but they have the TBT, the basketball. It's called the basketball tournament. It's like for $1 million is like the purse. It was announced 2-3 days ago. Like Trey Burke and Jamal Crawford had like combined and had started this all Michigan team. There is, in my opinion, a lot of talent on it. It's pretty much a Michigan alumni team. You got Trey Burke, Xavier Simpson, Jamal Crawford, Chauncey Brown, Devin Funchess, which I read that at first in the video that they all put on Twitter. They showed him playing, and I was like, okay, yeah, he can play. Um, then you got Zach Irvin, DJ Wilson, Nick Stauskas, Derek Walton, Cam Chapman, which is kind of confusing to me because he ended up transferring out after like his freshman year or something like that. Not really, kind of. John Teskey, Jordan Morgan, Charles Matthews, and Austin Davis. I mean, in my opinion, that's a team. That's a squad.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 1, 2 starters from the national championship finals team, and 13 on there. You got a few from the 2008 team. I mean, Jamal Crawford is just Jamal Crawford. I mean, we all knew what he did in the NFL, what he did to shooter. I mean, that's a very, very loaded team, in my opinion. I mean, I don't.
When
know.
did he play in the NFL?
Did I say the NFL?
I didn't know he played football too.
Yeah, sorry, NBA. You know what I meant. Sorry, talking about football got my mind a little spudged. I don't know what the other teams look like, but that's my opinion. That's a loaded team. It probably has a good shot to win it as long as. It's definitely going to draw me into watching it because I don't think I maybe turned it on for like a game or two when it is on, but I think this year, I mean, I'll definitely be following it more just with this team because it'll pretty much be like watching a Michigan basketball game from the past.
Right.
I thought it was a cool little note. And I think it's this summer. So I think we got like 2 more months until the tournament starts. Yeah, it just says this summer. Well, yeah, there's that. I just want to kind of just list that off and talk about that. Move on. Next one. I don't even remember the next one is. All right, now we can talk about our top 10 or top 10. Jesus, I don't want to do all that. Our top 5 tight ends in the Harbaugh era. That's where we're at right now. Starting at 5, going to 1. I didn't realize how many tight ends we've had, and I actually have to change one because I messed up and wrote him down, and he did not play for Harbaugh. So I had to change my list a little bit because I just completely thought about that. Let me do this because it's going to throw off my whole list now. Fudge. But at number 5, at least I'll start with 5 because I can just throw them in. At number 5, I got Nick Eubanks. Nick Eubanks, he kind of, I mean, he's a tight end, more of a receiving tight end coming out of the field more than a blocking. I mean, he was a great, actually, um, was actually a decent blocker. Was really Harbaugh. He's on what Harbaugh's first 2, 3 games, 3 teams,
Yeah, 2, I believe. But
or maybe a little bit later than that. I don't remember. But that's who I got at 5. Um, you got your list ready?
yep, I'm ready.
All right, you go ahead and
So
say
I Sean McCannon.
McCune.
McKeon, yeah.
Let's see. That's who I have at 4, and he wasn't originally on my list because I kind of forgot about him. And I was like, well, I can make an argument for the rest of them, but yeah, that's who I have at 4 too. Is Sean McKeon, and then at 3, I have Luke Schoonmaker.
It doesn't matter who I got it for.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I guess it don't matter at all. No, who you got it for?
Colson Loveland.
How you got him in the top 5? Dude barely played football because he made two big plays. No,
Trust
no,
me
it's
on this
not.
one.
This is
He's
not.
already there.
This is not projecting. If I can project, my list would have been a whole hell of a lot different on the past. This is not projecting. This is people who have played already and have showed out. I mean, Colson's played, and he played what 2 good catches.
You say what you want on your list, and
I'm not disagreeing with you that he's not going to be probably has a very good chance of being the number 1 tight end in under the Harbaugh era by the time he leaves.
Jake Butt said he's going to be the number 1 tight end ever in the history of the football game.
Yeah, well, Jake Butt also said that about Eric Hall, and Eric Hall is transferring. So, sorry, Eric Hall
could still be true about Eric Hall, just not at Michigan. So you know what? I almost put him at 5. I almost left him off because I knew you were going to run your cocksucker, but whatever. But here's the deal: is statistically, yeah, you can make that argument 1 year, but the guy was a complete tight end, blocking, picking up blitzes from the first snap he played. He's the real deal, and you know he could get hurt between now and the first game of the season or halfway through the season or whatever and never play again and prove me wrong. But I said what I said, and I'll stand by it.
I'm not. I'll just give you shit. That's all I'm doing. So, anyways, it's already said my number 3 since it was Luke Schoonmaker at 3. You can say you're 3.
Yeah, I'm. Luke's gonna be my number 3 too.
Number 3. Who you got at 2? This is where it gets. I think 1 and 2 to me is like the easiest 2 spots to put under Harbaugh. But I want to know
if you have anybody other than what I have at number 1, you're an idiot. But I got.
I think we've already talked
we're
about
at 2 now, right?
Yeah, I think we've already talked about the man that's at number 1.
Yeah, Zach Gentry.
Yeah, we got the same number 1 and number 2. I mean, both of those are number 2. I have Zach Gentry too. Dude came in as a quarterback and had a great tight end career.
Yeah, if he'd have played all 4 years, he'd have been All-American. You know, if he'd played all 4 years at tight end. Number 1, I got Eric Hall.
Shut the fuck
just like
up.
you do.
Shut the fuck up. If you would totally fucking contradict every single thing that you said about Cade McNamara, if you would have had Eric Hall there. So, but I know you didn't. That's why. But no, it's Jake Butt. No. It's Jake Butt 100%.
Yeah, I you know,
and I think Jake Butt.
Eric Hall probably deserves a top 5 spot, but if you fuck him.
If you transfer out, I'm not putting you on my list. Sorry.
Right, and that's the way I feel about it. And not even necessarily transfer out, but transfer out the way that it did. You got your daddy and your brother on there defending you, and you want to trash us on the way out vaguely and not back it up with facts or anything. Fuck you, be gone.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to get something before we started the show. That's kind of important for this next topic. But no, yeah, the way he went out was just no bueno.
Right.
But I mean, I think you could argue Jake Butt to be a top 10 or the number one tight end to come out of Michigan in what, probably 20 years.
Yeah, I think Jake Butt is probably the number one tight end at Michigan ever, and we've had some good ones, right? Now it didn't translate to the pros
He
because
couldn't stay
injuries
healthy.
hobbled him,
Dude
but
tore like 18 ACLs.
right.
I was like,
And that just goes. Some people bad genetics, right? And I mean, physically he's a specimen, but sometimes bodies just aren't built to withstand the violence because he tore an ACL in high school, then he tore
they
each
tore
one
it in
of
the
them
Orange Bowl.
at Michigan.
He's only
Then he
tore
got
one
to
at
the
Michigan.
only one.
Yeah, it was at the Orange Bowl we were at.
Yeah, I thought he had one early in his career too, but I could be
No,
wrong.
no, because he came in. Technically, he came in under Hoke. I think he played under Hoke his freshman season.
Yes, yeah,
And then when Harbaugh came in is really when you seen the explosion from him. Because I think Taylor Lewan ended up playing with him for a year, and that was Hoke's last season.
yeah.
Um, I don't remember what I was gonna say. I started looking at something, and it kind of made me really mad that I just seen it. And I'll show you in a minute because it's really, really annoying to me. But yes, those he's. I don't think if we would have did like an all time top tight ends, he definitely still would have been number one for me. Between
Yeah, I can't.
him,
I can't. So Bo utilized the tight end a lot. Obviously, Lloyd Carr to a lesser extent, and then Rich Rod and Hope both. Brady did a little bit, I guess, but to a lesser extent. But Harbaugh's brought that back. And off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody better than Jake Butt. And we've had some dandies, right?
I mean, you could. I'm not gonna say you can argue like him number one, but he's definitely like a number two. Would probably be Devin Funchess as the closest in my opinion,
Absolutely.
because the dude is just. I mean, he's just a freak athlete. Um, but I would never even. There's no putting him above Butt. Butt just did so much perfect. Um, but yeah,
So I just typed it in right, and here's a couple that pop up that I don't think Kevin Koger was a good one.
yeah, Hunter Rich
Benny
Rod.
Joperu from my day, Aaron Shea from my day, both pretty good. Jim Mandich, college and pro football Hall of Fame. I guess you could. Um,
Argue
he
him.
was on Bo's first teams, I believe. Played with Brandstatter and um,
I
Dan
know. Theodore.
Theodore. So there you go. There, I guess there's some arguments there, but still, I think for my money, Koger played under Rich Rod. Um,
Yeah.
a fun fact, actually, Michigan's Maple Street Express. I got a picture of me on their first page opening up with Rich Rod underneath his got his arm around Koger, and I'm standing right in between the two. So
I thought that was on. I thought that was in one of the programs.
I know it was Maple Street.
Oh, okay. No, I thought it was one of the programs. That's why I was like, what the hell? But yeah, no. I know. I've seen it multiple times. You know, it's a salty fucking subject for me. Fucking, we gotta go fucking bankrupt my ass. They're just like, oh, it's Hunter's fucking 18th fucking birthday year. Fuck him.
Right.
Fuck off. All right. Move on to the history of Michigan State. I thought this would be a cool subject for not only us as Michigan fans, but Michigan State fans. If any of y'all even come close to watching this, I thought it would at least help y'all not have to be so dreadful and hate your life as much just because you're a Michigan State fan. But I got this really cool book. I don't know. I probably got it 2 years ago. It's called The Nastiest Football the nastiest football history of the Michigan versus Michigan State. It's why every game it covers every game in the series, other than obviously I think I got it 2 years ago, so probably the past 2 years. Um, which to Sparties is doesn't count. It's part of the past. But especially this past year, um, just at the time, Michigan State was as we all know, the state agriculture college, old cow school down the road. Always smelled like dog shit or cow shit. um, but I mean, so the first game was played on October 12th, 1898, at Regent Field in Ann Arbor. Um, it was sorry, I messed this up again. I really just need to highlight this stuff so I don't lose it. It was played on a Wednesday, which is now back then they did play games in the middle of the week. Uh, this game marked the first and only time that coaches Gustav Ferbert of Michigan and Harry Keep of SAC faced each other. Both coaches were gone before the next game was played. Uh, this was the third contest of the season for Michigan. Michigan defeated Michigan normal 21-0 and Kenyon 29-0. The Wolverines entered this game undefeated, unscored upon head. So kind of like our defensive now usually enter that game with very little points given up. Michigan or SAC had only played one game with 11-6 win over Ypsilanti. Uh, I mean, this game it was summed up. Michigan ended up winning 39-0. As this is kind of the start of the domination of this rivalry.
Yeah,
At this
so
point,
so back then they were called the Michigan Agricultural Aggies, right?
well, they were the state agricultural college. They were just SAC at that point because didn't they? I think I haven't. Yeah, they changed to MAC. Um, it's funny because I actually just opened up that page without trying. They changed to MAC. I think in the around like the same like 1918 time frame because this is 1898. This is not. This is even before 1900s.
So who wrote that book?
So it's Barry Gallagher.
Okay, so I'm looking at Wikipedia, right, and it
I mean,
credits the Michigan State. Um, oh shoot, I lost it here.
listen, I haven't got that far into the book, but like you can see
Gotcha.
where they changed it. They changed it from SAC from State Agricultural College to Michigan Agricultural College, like just going down and like game 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
So they're claiming they got this out of the Michigan State Media Guide in 2016, but
yeah, I mean
whatever.
this so it's by Barry Gallagher, forwarded by Bill La, Lamonier. He's a Big Ten referee and current ESPN rules analysis. Um, that's who they forwarded it by. I mean, this is like I said, this is just some little stuff. Like so, I was gonna look up Wikipedia. This one for game 1, it was kind of was just trying to see how this went, what we can do different, and things like that.
So
Um,
so something funny, right? And I think this is really cool. We can go a long ways down the rabbit hole with this one, but uh, Michigan State ended up with a 4-3 record, outscoring people 142 to 127 this year. But that first game against Michigan was played on a Wednesday. They lost, as you said, 39-0. Right, 3 days after losing to Michigan, they lost the second installment of the Michigan State Notre Dame game. So get
53
your ass
nothing.
kicked on Wednesday, then you play on Saturday. They got beat 53-0.
53 nothing. This is
Yeah,
because it says the season summary at that point. The Aggies finished with a winning record for the second consecutive season that year, 4-3-0. They lost to Notre Dame 53 nothing, won 3 straight games against Albion, Olivet, Ypsilanti again, but lost the season finale at Kalamazoo 17 nothing. Which to me, like thinking of like Albion College and Olivet College, like playing Michigan and Michigan State every year.
right.
Isn't that
It's
just like
insane, right?
crazy that like that's how it used to be?
So it's funny here. I'm looking at their schedule. On October 8th, they played Michigan State Normal, which whatever that is. Uh,
It's
October
yeah,
12th, 4 days later, Michigan. 3 days later, Notre Dame. Then a week, Albion. Then a week, Olivet. Then 3 weeks, Michigan State Normal again. Beat them both times. And then
Ypsilanti.
November 24th at Kalamazoo. But 3 games in 7 days is just insane, man.
Oh, yeah, especially back then, they were really. I mean, no pads, really no pads, no
Right?
helmets. I
No
mean,
helmets.
you're looking at a lot of damage there. Um, and then if you're looking at Michigan's, if you go to the Michigan side at least of the season series or summary, Michigan dominated everyone on their schedule that season. They went 10-0. The Wolverines won their first Western Conference championship title, um, finishing it off with as we've done obviously since way back then, um, celebrating the post game, singing the victors. uh, the wonderful fight song, and that's probably one of my favorite after game wins traditions. Watching the team sing the victors, whether like seeing the videos in the locker room and things like that. Um, the Wolverines also celebrated their first All American player ever, and that'd be center William Cunningham. All around, it was a successful season for Michigan that year. Um, that would actually be the only time that they would play, obviously, in 1890s, obviously, because they just started 1898. They didn't play the next season. So Michigan going into the 1900s was 1-0. Um, I mean, I mean, that's all I got out of here. That's at least not going to go into probably 20 minutes worth of reading. So I mean, like I said, that's at least for me is part of. You got anything else for it before I wrap that part up?
No, but the only just one thing: 72, 38, and 5.
Oh. I had to think about that for a second. I was like, what the fuck's
Almost
that got
double
to
their
do with?
wins.
I was like I said, that's just something. Like I said, we'll get better. At least I'll get better with it. Um, it was kind of like I said, this was something I decided to throw together last minute. I think yesterday I texted you about it.
Yep.
I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? I was trying to think of something just because we are in that Tigers suck. At least right now, Tigers suck. What are we gonna talk about? Them losing um, every week. So I was like, just trying to find stuff to talk about. Kind of fit in with the Detroit Michigan thing. And I was like, I have this book that I like. I actually think I want to like somewhat read. I ain't reading the whole thing. I'll go through it and like skim it, make notes, things like that, and like just think about. I was gonna say let's do every game, but that's probably not a good idea. I'd probably just look up some important games and read about them.
Yeah.
Maybe do a game a decade or 2 games a decade. Just kind of get us through the summertime before football season pops back up next fall. Um, think it'd be fun. Like I said, I'll get better with it. I'll do a little bit more prep for next week. Um, but I think it could be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun to
I
learn
like
about.
it.
And then I think I think me and you know a lot about the Michigan Ohio State rivalry, but I think after this we could go into that or possibly the Michigan Notre Dame
Yep.
rivalry
So,
too.
so honestly, and really, and no intended hate here, even though I like that it's a little jab, but I have I never started caring about the Michigan State rivalry till 3 or 4 years into Dan Antonio's run, and because before that, yeah, they might win. They win a game every few years, and once a decade they might win back to back or something. But up until D'Antonio in my lifetime, they never did anything to merit that respect, right? And I think that's why they've completely lost their mind is because they know that too, and here they had a nice 10-year run, right? Um, Very respectable. Made the CFP, won I think 4 Big Ten or at least shared Big Ten championships. It was only 2.
Maybe 3, but it would don't give them 4. Please don't give them 4.
Well,
They
I
got
was
too
I
big of
was
a fucking head. No,
so,
I think
but
no, fuck that. We ain't
you
giving them
know,
fucking shit.
my whole point in that is I've just never really paid a whole lot of attention to especially to the historical stuff, right? Always knew on the current stuff, back to when I was maybe late 70s, more likely early 80s, where I was really paying attention to it. In the late 70s, I was paying attention to the Buckeyes, but Michigan State,
2.
2. Okay, well, fair
Mhm.
enough.
Yeah, 2. And I just looked it up. That's why I was like, they made 3 because
So, and
they
they
played.
act like they won. They act like they were Bama right during that stretch. Like they won 10 conference titles and 8 national championships.
They went to.
Um,
I mean, again, that was so they made 2
yeah,
before we switched over from the Legend Leaders division. That was absolutely dumb. Um,
right. And we've won 2 in a row, so they can shut up.
yeah, I mean we're now tied, but they're arguing, oh, we made 3. Well, yeah, you also lost 1, so argue that. But
Right.
because that first one was 2011, they played Wisconsin in it. And then 2013, they beat Ohio State. In 2015, they beat Iowa because Iowa decided to choke. Um, just saying they're the closest team to lose to come close to losing to a West division. Just saying the West is trash. The only time was any team from the West has won a Big Ten championship is when it was from leaders when Wisconsin was in the leaders and they won the first 2.
Right.
Oh my God, I forgot about that game. The Wisconsin Nebraska game from 2012 when Wisconsin won like 70-31. I forgot about that game. But all right, some random sports notes real quick before we head out. At least the ones I have. Michigan Panthers of the USFL looking to move to 2-0 tonight. I think they play at 6 o'clock, which the USFL had a huge ratings last week, beating out a lot of stuff, like huge ratings. Beat out all the XFL games. Um, so there's some positivity there. Not a lot of not a lot of people in the stands. Just I think that's got to do though with they need to let every team play in their home state, their home city.
Yeah.
Tigers are the same old same. They won 5 straight. Now they've lost 4 straight, going for 5, I guess. Or no, lost 3 straight, but going for 4 tonight. And then note, kind of the death of Oakland at this point. The Oakland A's announced that they're going to be moving to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That's kind of the death of Oakland because Golden State plays over in San Francisco. Now Raiders are gone. Raiders went to Las Vegas. Oakland's A's are following right behind them. But I think that'll be good for the A's organization. I mean, there just wasn't the A's fans when they because the A's have been underwhelming, like under the table, like good for 10, 15 years. So
Yeah.
you go back to 2006, Tigers played them in the ALCS. When Mags hit the walk off in Game 7 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was Game 7 or Game 4. I don't remember. But I mean, but it seemed like every time the Tigers were in the playoffs, we ran into the A's. And I remember watching the games when they were playing in Oakland. And just like the Oakland Raiders fans are fucking insane, the fucking Oakland A's fans, Oakland's insane. But I mean, that's just I think it was Wilbon on PTI the other night had explained it perfectly. It might have been Tony, I don't know, but it was this is just the way that it goes in sports. That's how Detroit got a basketball team. I mean, that's how Seattle has a hockey team now. You're pulling teams away
Yep.
from where they were at.
Baltimore Ravens.
Ravens. I mean,
Uh,
you can probably sit here.
Houston.
Yep, the Texans.
Tennessee
The
Titans.
And Texans were the.
Yeah, Cleveland.
I mean, there's you can name so many teams in ways that you.
Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, I
Yep, the
mean,
Cardinals.
you could go on and on with that. Uh, Seattle Super Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah,
Come from
Seattle. I
Seattle,
mean, at the regional time when the Pelicans, not the Pelicans, the New Orleans Hornets left New Orleans and went out to right. Oh no. When the Charlotte Hornets came to New Orleans, right? Or was it the other way around? I think it was the New Orleans Hornets went to Charlotte.
No, I don't think New Orleans had a team till the
No,
Pelicans.
because that's Chris Paul used to play in. I'm trying to think here. Because New Orleans used to be the Hornets. I do know that for a fact. And I feel like that was with Chris Paul's. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's where Chris Paul played for years. Was for New Orleans. History of the Hornets. New Orleans Hornets based in Louisiana. Been part of the league since 2002, 2003, when they moved from Charlotte to Orlando after Hurricane Katrina. Devastated their.
Oh, you know what? That's right. I forgot all about that.
And then once they wanted to go back to Charlotte. Um, and then I think that's when the New Orleans just made the basketball team the Pelicans, maybe they went back to Charlotte.
They tried to trade Chris Paul to the Lakers, and David Stern
I
vetoed
think
it.
what happened was, without looking it up, like it's either he went to Charlotte, wanted to go back to Charlotte, and left New Orleans, and then New Orleans ended up in a few years just getting like an expansion team, or like they just automatically went and just got the Pelicans because the Pelicans didn't start until I think 10 years ago. Like they haven't been around.
They haven't been around hardly.
So I can't remember and tell you for sure without sitting here and talking a little bit longer. But yeah, those are all at least the random sports notes, the cool sports notes I got. Decent ones at least. Playoff hockey continues. Oh, did see today. Sorry, just thought about this. I just seen it on Twitter while I was waiting for you. Um, apparently, Hunter Dickinson is on a visit today to Kentucky. Yeah, like we talked about. I think it was last week or whenever we talked about Hunter Dickinson, the transfer. But I mean, if he wants to win, he wants to win. I did see that. That came from Ant Wright on Twitter, and usually he's at least about him is pretty
right. And you know, he has. I still don't understand it, but to me, he has handled it the right way. I mean, he's stayed off of social media.
He hasn't even been on that podcast. He's been doing, I'm pretty sure.
Right, laying low and shutting up, which is the best thing you can do. And you know, even if Juwan Howard beat him with a belt, you know, there's some things that just don't need to be said. Like Cade and Eric all did. I know you feel basically the same way. I've never begrudged any kid a chance to go leave somewhere that he's not happy or go somewhere that makes him happier or whatever. But, no matter what, I'm not saying that some things that shouldn't have happened to these kids. I mean, that's in my perspective, right? That's kind of life. It's just the way it is. But thank the program, put your head down and shut the fuck up. Those are stories that can come out 20 years later, when you're talking about it, because it doesn't, in my opinion, not only does it not help you, it hurts you and the people's perspective of you and just makes you look like a baby. So, real quick, we have not mentioned this. Told you used cars, right? Or out looking at cars, right?
Yeah.
And stopped in the Art Main, and that's where we're close the deal tomorrow. But sitting talking to Jerry Cox, and we were talking a lot about um, the way people left, and the transfer portal, and how when things get tough, people just leave. And I think these guys certainly should be paid, and I think they should have the right to leave where we want. We've talked about this quite a bit, but what brought us into that is this new NCAA rule change,
Oh yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
keeps the clock running after first downs. And if we need to speed up the game, well, if you need to speed up the game, how about you cut the commercials in half? Well, we know they're not going to do that, right? Because they're going to lose too much money. But literally, after every series, there's
Bro, that
at least one set of
I swear to
commercials.
God, the Big Ten
And I
championship game
actually,
took like 5 hours. I think it took. I am
right.
almost 100%. It took at least 4.
So I'm all about speeding the game up, right? And I love the pitch clock in baseball. Um, I think there should be, who was it that Dodger got a pitch clock violation because the crowd was acknowledging him
I didn't.
early last week. It might have been last weekend, and I thought that was bullshit. There needs to be some discretion. I forget the exact situation. I think he was traded somewhere else and made his first appearance back in the stadium, and they gave him a standing no, and he's waving and acknowledging the crowd, and the calls a pitch clock violation. I'm, well, come on, let's use some common sense here. But I just absolutely do not understand getting the clock. That's gonna shrink the game in game minutes, probably 4 or 5 minutes a game. Going to take away
And
gameplay.
it's
And as you and I, we don't need less college football. We need more college football. And there's better ways
yeah,
to
they want to sit
speed
here
up
and
the game.
complain about the game being sped up, but I promise you, no one. Not there's not. People might bitch about the commercials, but that's the only thing. We aren't bitching about the actual game. If the game
Right. I don't care
if
if it
the
takes
game
nine
took nine
hours.
hours, I promise you, you would have the same amount of viewers as you had now. People are complaining about the
I promise you,
commercials.
is right.
The commercials are
Yep.
stupid. Get old fucking Red Hat off the 20-yard line in a minute. They don't need 5 minutes of commercials.
Right. Yep. That'd be my number one suggestion is put a timer on it. If you can't decide in whatever it is, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, then that's your answer. There's no clear. I lost my when they're trying to overturn a call, right? They
Oh,
need
clear evidence,
clear,
clear visual
yeah,
evidence.
clear evidence that, right. So if you can't figure that out in 30 seconds, I don't think you need a minute to figure it out. It should be obvious,
Well,
right?
that's
Like JT
I'm
was short.
very, I'm very up about the way that the XFL and the CFL or not the XFL and USFL does like the review systems is
Yep.
because one you can hear it, you can hear everything being talked in the XFL. You can hear Dean Bendelli um, up there talking to the ref, and like they overturned a call I think yesterday like 15 seconds because in the XFL you can challenge anything, penalties, anything. Um, but like you said, I think there needs to be a timer on that. There needs to be a timer on. I think usually it's like 3.5 minutes of commercials, and I'm like, this is just dumb. Let's just play
Yeah.
football. You
It's
want to
ridiculous.
slow time down, take the commercials out of the football game. Like you don't need a media timeout every 15 minutes of actual time. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, or else I would have put that in here. I completely forgot. I'm glad you remembered because I know. I mean, I know we talked about it outside of here. Oh shoot! But but yeah. Well, I think that's all I got today.
Yeah, I
Pretty
believe so.
decent show. Like I said, we'll be back next week, next weekend, um, and we'll make sure you guys. This will be up on Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. It's already up on Facebook and Twitter, but Spotify, YouTube tonight, and then make sure y'all share, like, subscribe. Sorry, I just got like super tired for some reason. Um, and we'll see y'all next weekend. Go Blue.
Hail.